Hi, Kat.
Hi, Tiffany.
So, what have you heard about diesel?
Okay, so when I used to work with Europeans, most of them had diesel cars, and the rumor I had heard was that diesel, and I've heard this since college actually, diesel is actually far more efficient than gasoline. And in Europe, they have developed highly efficient diesel vehicles, but that the oil and gas industry in the United States put an end to that, or just wouldn't put the kibosh on it, let's say, and wouldn't let it develop in the United States, so that Europe has efficient diesel vehicles and we don't, is what the conspiracy that I heard.
Interesting. All right, well, we're going to get into that.
Okay.
And not about the Europe thing. I focus on the US here, but yeah, I think we're going to kind of maybe answer some of those. Or
is
like
diesel more efficient? Yeah.
Yeah, like figure out if that is the case. So the US government loves to talk about diesel, actually.
Really?
Actually, that's the interesting thing. Actually. And they love to talk about clean diesel in particular.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So the Department of Energy says, quote, although emissions of particulates and smog-forming nitrogen oxides, NOx, are still relatively high, new clean, in quotes, diesel fuels such as ultra-low sulfur diesel and biodiesel and advances in emission control technologies will reduce these pollutants.
Okay.
If you didn't memorize that, we are going to break that down, that sentence down, almost word by word as we go through this episode. And the EPA also has a national clean diesel campaign. And what that does, it has a lot of moving parts. So they fund a lot of projects all over the world, or all over the country. Part of it is like retrofitting diesel engines with better, basically to like reduce emissions, that type of thing. But they largely replace diesel engines. This is the funny thing. Maybe not most, okay. At least half, but a lot of the funding goes toward replacing diesel engines with electric or propane engines. And yet it's called the National Clean Diesel Campaign. The irony.
Right.
So that's just one little tidbit to start. So today we are taking on the U.S. government, particularly the Department of Energy. Let's delve into the idea of clean diesel and see if it's a load of green hooey or if there's any horsepower behind it.
Ooh, I like that. Nice move.
I had to. I was like, oh, this is so lame, but I'm going to do it. Welcome to Greening Up My Act. So guess what? Before we get into diesel, this is our 50th episode.
How did that happen?
I don't know. But that's insane.
I feel like I should have bought you a golden chalice or something. Like, isn't 50th right?
No clue. I do not know. But is it gold or chalices?
It's gold.
Okay. Not chalices? That's weird. Yeah, so we've done, this is 50. That's crazy. I know. Yay. I mean, one of those high fives and misses. That's fine.
Yeah, we're like, just look at the elbow. Look at the elbow. That's how you do a good high five. Well, congrats.
Yeah. Yeah, you too. Congrats. I'm really proud of it. It's awesome. Yeah. It's like, feels like a real boy now.
It only took 50 episodes.
Yeah. I hear it takes like 100 to get like your message down. It's fine.
Really?
Yeah.
100?
Yes. Isn't crazy.
I can't imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
When we're
Well,
there,
I
we'll be
mean,
like,
it's 50. We're halfway
yeah,
there.
I know. When we get there, we'll be like, remember when we did 50? We sounded
Yeah.
like idiots. Kat couldn't figure out her microphone or the lighting, and it kept going limp.
And Tiffany's light was actually like a giant floor lamp that lit her up like an angel. That's fine.
We're both sitting in a closet somewhere.
Yeah. Yep. I'm in like a curtain room.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll still be there, I bet, in 150 more episodes, but it's fine.
Something to aim for.
Yeah, so I just wanted to point that out, but maybe you could tell us, who the hell are we?
Oh, yeah. Well, we are Greening Up My Act. We are Tiffany and Kat, two marketing writers by day and podcasters on whatever evening we can set aside to record. And we both are interested in doing what we can to reduce our impact on the environment through our carbon output and trash and what items we buy and use in our homes. And so we use our marketing knowledge to dissect things that are sold to us, products or services basically, and whether or not they are what they say they are, or whether it's just a bunch of fluff or green hooey, as we like to call it.
Yes.
Yeah. And we've been doing this for 50 episodes now, so.
Yeah. I'm 50.
I'm 50.
50 episodes old.
Definitely getting loose. I gotta tighten this thing here.
Oh, God, it's going limp again. I didn't even notice.
It's not even Valentine's Day. I don't know why.
That's awesome.
It's gotten hot again, so.
Oh, maybe. That's weird. That's weird.
Too hot for my table. Yeah, but yeah. So that's who we are. And
nice. Yeah, I think that about sums it up. So, all right. So diesel. We tried to stick to max of 5 sources. I did not either do that.
Yeah, for electric vehicles, I couldn't either. So
yeah,
I hear you.
Yeah, I think I have like 8, but basically I'll run through them real quick. The EPA, I use the Department of Energy, Scientific American, the International Council on Clean Transportation. Just chef's kiss on that one. Performance results. Oh, wait, sorry. This is the SAE, which is like a technical. They did a study. I don't remember the full name, but SAE. They did a performance results on ducted fuel injection. I feel like very smart in this episode.
I kind of sound like my sister when she's talking about her work in rocket science.
That is the biggest compliment.
And I can't even make up some of the words she says. Like, it sounds like when the Ghostbusters start talking about something and you're like, none of that makes any science sense.
Right.
So that's what you sound like right now. I'm like,
oh, yay. I'm so glad. The next one was, I think we've talked about them before, but Impactful Ninja.
Yes.
I think you used them before as a source.
I have. I love them.
Yeah. They were really good. They had the article on the carbon footprint of biodiesel, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
And then Car Talk, which just talked about, I was like, how the hell does biodiesel work? So I included that.
I mean, I think that's one of the things that's great about talking about cars is that we can use like good old fashioned car. Like I used CarMax last week.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's not political. It's just informational, you know.
Yes. Yep. It's probably SEO based. They're just trying to bring you in, but that's okay. That is what it is. Yep. So, all right. Today we're talking about diesel fuel. What the hell is diesel fuel?
Okay. Yes.
Right? I didn't know. Now I'm starting to sound less smart, but it's okay. No.
It's a thing. And also, like, why maybe you get into this, but like, why can't you use diesel in a gas powered car? Yeah,
there was so much that I can't answer that exactly, but it's basically they're 2 different engines and they operate differently. So that's kind of like the best I can give you. But yeah, so diesel fuel is a liquid fuel designed specifically for use in a diesel engine. It is thicker than regular gasoline.
Okay.
Scientific American says diesel provides the big torque needed to move big things.
Okay. So it's for heavy machinery.
Yes. So they list out Right. So they list out like a lot of the things that run on diesel. So for example, hundreds of millions of medium and large long haul trucks on the highways. The world's trains are using diesel.
I knew that. Yep.
Ships, heavy machinery, like you said. Some, I would say probably all or a lot of the domestic pickups, so US-based pickup trucks, and then a lot of European passenger cars, as you mentioned. So Car and Driver actually says diesel engines have nearly half the market share in Europe, which you may have said that, but
I didn't know it was that much, but that makes sense.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? So I was over there probably driving around in diesels, didn't know it. Not my own, but friends,
Let others do it for you.
Yeah. And the interesting thing, so they're really popular, like you said, in Europe, but there are currently no new diesel cars for sale in the United States. But there are trucks and SUVs. But they are behemoths.
Yes.
Behemoths. Yeah. So one of them, you should just look up pictures. Because it's honestly, if you have one of these, how do you drive it? It is a truck with... It's an SUV, but it's basically a truck with a bed, seating. The GMC Yukon and the Cadillac Escalade, those things are huge. And I think a bunch of people from our daycare drive those because we are literally we're in a car and we're like, I'm so small.
Don't run me over.
Yeah. So those are the diesels in the United States.
Okay, unpopular opinion. I think you should have to have a license to drive a car that big,
right? No, that's not unpopular. I think that's I think that's yes. I mean, okay, a lot of people might be like, but
some soccer moms should not be driving those things. I'm just like,
well, hey, maybe some soccer moms know what the hell they're doing, but whoever doesn't, and whoever, it's like I have been in situations where I was forced to drive that kind of car, and I was like, this isn't safe.
Yeah. No one should be on the road when I'm in this car.
I don't feel comfortable. We had a Subaru Forester for a while, and it was considered a small SUV, and it felt like gigantoid to me. So, anyway, there's actually a really interesting article about how car bloat is happening. So everybody's driving a giant car.
I know, it just gets bigger and bigger, and I'm like, you can't park
it's on the Atlantic. It's fascinating. I would suggest reading it, but I don't think I included it in my sources. I wanted to, but I was like, it's too long already.
Record, if I had a choice, I would drive a Miata. That's
right?
2-seater, half a trunk.
Yeah. My brother-in-law has one, actually.
I used to. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, they're pretty.
They're just zippy.
Yeah. So, all right. So I stuck to the same, our sort of standard format for this one because it worked. But in a lot of the episodes, we ask what eco-friendly claims is the company making. But in this case, it's really the U.S. government, which is really interesting.
U.S. government, not the industry, not the diesel industry, but the U.S. government.
No, I found, I'm sure the diesel industry is also making these claims. But I just found it so interesting that the government was my first source that came up, and I'm usually like, oh yeah, I can trust a .gov source, right? But now I'm like, well, maybe things are more nuanced than that. Yeah. So, all right, so there are two main claims. The first one is shorter and more to the point. The second one is where we're going to really dive in. First one is that diesel is more efficient, which is what you were talking about. So, this is true. Okay. So you were wondering if your European counterparts have some sort of conspiracy, whatever. It's not a conspiracy, it is true. So diesel fuel... Go ahead.
To point out, it was an American who said that to me about diesel. So the Europeans just have diesel fuel cars. I don't think...
Gotcha. Okay.
Anyway, yeah.
No anti-European sentiment over here. No. No, but diesel fuel contains roughly 10 to 15% more energy than gasoline. So,
okay,
that's true. That is a true claim.
I'm going to point out, still not as good as electric vehicle energy usage, because that's 77%.
What was the difference?
77% versus 30%, which means
about 40.
15% of 30%. I don't know. I I can't do that kind of math. It's not like it's 45% efficient versus 77%. It's 15% of that 30%. So I don't know. Anyway.
Right. So yeah, it's hard to say. Yeah. But yeah, EVs are definitely better for sure. And the other interesting thing is like, well, that's more about performance. I did read a lot about Dieselgate, the Volkswagen.
Yes, I was going to say that is another thing that came up. It's like,
yes, absolutely. And I was actually going to start with that, but then I was like, I don't want to make this episode 1,000 years long. So, and it's a little bit outdated. So I was like, we'll just cut that part. But yeah, the Dieselgate thing was basically where the company, it's pretty wild. The company, Volkswagen in particular, but actually I think a lot of them did it. They just weren't found out.
Didn't get caught.
And they might still be doing it. I didn't really find that much evidence that they're not doing it anymore, but that's just a guess. I didn't look into it. And they were basically, so I guess the emissions reduction, whatever tools or whatever you put on your car, like on a Volkswagen Jetta, for example, to reduce its emissions hurts the performance of the car. Mm-hmm. So that's why VW was trying to hide it.
So from what I understand, the way it worked was it was a thing in the onboard computer.
Yeah.
That when it knew it was being tested for emissions, it would turn on. And then when the test was over, it would turn off. So it would pass emissions and look like it was fuel efficient, but then it wouldn't wreck the performance of the car and just be a dirty little diesel monster on the road.
Yes.
When you're actually driving it. Wow. Okay.
Exactly. And it's funny because
sinister. Yeah.
I know. It was this guy named John, I think John German was his last name.
German.
The
Volkswagen.
Isn't that funny? Yeah, his name is John German, but he was just a researcher and he accidentally discovered this and he really wasn't even looking for it, but he was like, hey, let's test what the emissions in the lab are versus the emissions on the road. And because they were on the road, the software didn't kick in because they didn't realize it was being tested. So they're like, wait a minute, there's a discrepancy here. Wow. So, and then that was 2013, I think. And yeah. And some industry insider said they were all doing it. All the companies. It wasn't just Volkswagen.
I wonder if that's when cars started having like sport mode. So
I don't know.
That's it, because that's something. I had a BMW briefly, and Sean has a Mini Cooper, and you can set it to sport mode, and it'll be like efficiency goes down, but your handling will be better and, it'll be zippier and all these things. And I wonder if that's what sport mode is you manually telling the computer not, to change the emission level, or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Because it's probably not then because my 2014 Subaru Forester had sport mode also.
But it might be the same mechanism.
Yeah, I don't know. But I wonder.
His is like a 2016, I think.
Yeah, like if it messes with the emissions. Huh.
Yeah, it must. Sorry, I'm like kicking my table here, but it does. It definitely messes with the emissions. It's just not something we think about. Like you're not going to take a car to get emissions tested and put it in sport mode. But
right.
Anyway,
that's so interesting.
How funny.
Yeah. So Dieselgate was nuts. And yeah, that was sort of like. I actually think that was why a lot of American car manufacturers stopped producing diesel, was because of that. But
it's such a bad name from that.
Yeah, but I'm not totally sure that's true.
It was probably a confluence of factors, but yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So diesel's more efficient. However, if we're comparing diesel vehicles to gasoline vehicles in the United States, diesels are usually heavier.
Okay.
So they usually
need more fuel. Yeah.
Yes. So they usually still have lower miles per gallon.
Right. No matter
overall.
what.
Yeah. Like I looked up it was either the Escalade or the Yukon. I think it was Yukon. And it was like, it actually was better than I expected. It was like 21 in the city, 21 in the city, which isn't great, but for that thing, maybe not so bad. and then 27 on the highway or something like that. So not good, but not as bad as I expected.
Comparable to a lot of cars, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, but yeah, you're kind of, there's that trade-off. So, but that's not the case in Europe. So, the other thing for our European counterparts to think about is, okay, the other claim is that diesel of today is clean. Clean diesel, all this stuff.
That sounds like green hooey to me.
Well, you'll find out.
Okay.
So, first off, all right, I have one another quote from the Department of Energy, and then we're going to really focus in on that long quote where they're like, blah, 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 blah.
Explain everything. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we're going to like really hone in on that. But first, the Department of Energy says, quote, today's diesels must meet the same emissions standards as gasoline vehicles. Okay. So, man, could I have gone down a rabbit hole here? Because a lot of this stuff is like, I don't know all the regulations. I don't know all the laws. I don't know all the stuff.
I couldn't tell you what the emission standards are. Right.
Exactly. And so I didn't go down a full rabbit hole. So some information is not here. But the problem with this statement is that there was no carbon dioxide regulation until 2024.
Wait, you're kidding me.
No. From cars emissions. 2024 is this year. I'm pretty sure it was like a couple months ago. Well, it had to be. It's only May 2024.
Okay. I feel like I'm having like the Mandela effect here. Like, it's the Berenstain Bears and... Right. Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So the standards are new.
For carbon dioxide, yes. And I actually don't even think they're in place yet. It's just like, it's a brand new regulation.
So that's part of like, okay. But so
saying today's diesels must meet the same emission standards as standard gasoline vehicles is like, okay. And?
What emissions were they measuring before?
Well, so there's a lot of... So it's basically like the EPA has the Clean Air Act, I think it's called. Right. So they look a lot at like particulates or soot or that kind of thing. NOx is one. So stuff that affects people's asthma and breathing, ozone, that type of stuff. But carbon dioxide was not apparently a concern.
Well, yeah, yes, okay, which makes sense because you can carbon monoxide. You get carbon monoxide poisoning, but carbon dioxide is something that we don't think of as because we exhale carbon dioxide, right? It's not. Yeah,
and I wonder. I'm sure it was political too, because people were like carbon dioxide. I don't know.
What does it do? It doesn't cause any problem. That's so interesting to me though, because it's like,
isn't that insane?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
My eyes have been opened.
I know, mine too. So the ICCT, which is the International Council on Clean Transportation, I think I got that. I'm horrible at names, but I might have gotten that one. Yes, I got it. So I'm going to call them the ICCT from now on. They found that in a lab and on a road, diesel cars emitted more CO2 than gasoline counterparts. So, quote, the combustion of 1 liter of diesel fuel releases approximately 13% more CO2 than for the same amount of gasoline fuel. So the fact that we're saying, like, today's diesels must meet the same emissions standards as gasoline vehicles, if we're thinking about carbon dioxide, well, that doesn't really help.
No.
So,
okay.
I found that really interesting. Again, that's only carbon dioxide. We're going to get into NOx a little bit later. So now, let's take a quick break.
Okay.
And then I'm going to repeat that long quote from the Department of Energy, and we're going to break down step by step.
Cool.
And we're back. Okay. So, let me reread this quote. And it's from, again, the Department of Energy. It says, although emissions of particulates and smog-forming nitrogen oxides, NOx, are still relatively high with diesel, new clean diesel fuels, such as ultra-low sulfur diesel and biodiesel, and advances in emission control technologies will reduce these pollutants.
Okay.
So they're basically saying there is so much new stuff out there with diesel that, first off, it's clean. Second, it's good. And there's just so much good with diesel.
Okay.
So we're going to break it down one step at a time because maybe not.
Okay. Fair.
Maybe not. All right. So their first off, the quote bothers me because they're like, oh, although there's lots of particulates and smog forming nitrogen oxides, we still got all this other stuff. So we're going to reduce these pollutants, whatever. So NOx is probably not best to shrug off, right?
Okay.
So nitrogen dioxide is created by burning fuel. That's how it's created. Both gasoline and diesel. And it leads to respiratory issues, air pollution that leads to premature deaths, the formation of ozone and particulate matter. It also leads to acid rain, makes air hazy, and contributes to nutrient pollution in coastal environments. It's also an indirect greenhouse gas because it produces ozone.
Okay.
So the ICCT says diesel engines require fuel-intensive NOx reduction technologies to negate their NOx output.
Okay.
And it's not even negated, it just lowers it, makes it more reasonable. So the fact that these technologies are fuel intensive is kind of interesting because it's like they have to use more fuel to
It's the same thing.
to emit fewer NOx,
which is why the performance is lowered, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Don't quote me on that. I am not a car person, but so that's on the NOx. And then they also mentioned the ultra low sulfur diesel. I got very vaguely and very just scratched the surface on this one. Yeah, so this has been around since 2006. And it's actually, I think, most diesels that you buy at the gas station are going to be ultra low sulfur.
Okay.
And it does reduce the production of sulfur dioxide. So 1 point for diesel.
Good job, guys.
1 point toward a cleaner diesel, right?
1 point for Gryffindor diesel.
And so the next claim is about biodiesel. And the next two are just so fascinating to me. So biodiesel, I looked at Impact Ninja's life cycle assessment. And they say on a life cycle basis, biodiesel has a low carbon footprint.
Right.
So biodiesel can be like legit vegetable oil.
Yes.
It can be cooking oil.
You can use like Chinese food restaurants leftover cooking oil. Yes.
One of my high school friends' dads retrofitted their car to run on old cooking oil, and he probably still does it. He would go to like restaurants and just be like, "Hey, you gonna use that?" And they're like, "No,
give me your
can
fryer.
I have it?"
Yeah,
cool. And it was so cool. And I think it only emitted water. It was like really wild, like oxygen and water or something. So that's awesome. But write that down as an edit time, please. Yes. My throat. But however, biodiesel, we're not replacing regular diesel or gasoline with biodiesel because that would require all of the world's crop harvests, plant residues, timber, and grass consumed by livestock for 20% of what we need to power
It's just not feasible. I know. That was the thing. There aren't enough Chinese food restaurants putting out leftover cooking oil or fry cooks,
Yeah. And the other thing is, like, the majority of people who are using biodiesel are getting it from the gas station, and it's either B10 or B20, which is 10% this, like, biofuel plus 90% regular diesel.
Oh, okay. So you
So
can combine them.
You can combine them, and then B20 is like 20% biofuel and then 80% regular diesel. And you can put those into a regular diesel engine, because that's why I was like, how does this work? Like, how do you use biodiesel? But B10 and B20 are safe for regular diesel engines. So, yeah, so you don't have to, like, change your engine. You don't have to do anything. You can just use it. So, but, I mean, you're still using 80 to 90% regular diesel. So, I don't know.
It's better
it's better for sure.
It's kind of like ethanol in our gasoline, right? It's cuts down on emissions, but you're still using gas.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't go super far into, like, but the life cycle assessment that Impact Ninja put together was extremely detailed. So they said, and they said on a life cycle basis, biodiesel has a low carbon footprint. So if only we could use it more.
Yeah. So
better, but not the perfect solution, like the DOE is saying. It's fine. This final one is, I think, the most interesting and the most laughable. So they talk about advances in emissions control technologies. And there's this new tech that's raved about called ducted fuel injection. And it's basically like a new way to burn diesel fuel.
A better combustion engine, right?
Better, and I think it's like basically, okay, I'm just going to go through it. It's marketed as outstanding technology and a breakthrough by the folks who created it mostly, which is Sandia National Labs had part of it. Do you have a connection to them?
It's where my father worked my whole life.
That's what I thought. Okay, because I seriously was like, I knew of it already, but I was like, I feel like there's some connection here.
Yes.
Did he do this? Did he?
No, he did other things.
Wouldn't that be funny?
But it's interesting. People, aerospace engineering used to focus on nuclear weapons and energy, and now they focus on, this kind of energy and biological research too. So the labs have branched out. But Sandia National Labs in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Lawrence.
I didn't know it was in Albuquerque. Okay, that is so interesting. Okay, I would have probably made the connection if I had thought of that. All right, well, they're part of it.
Yep.
So yeah, the researchers. I'm not sure if they were like only based there, but they had a huge part to play.
My sister.
I think they partnered. Yeah.
Boeing, so there's partnerships a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So this, to sum it up, it is complicated, and Scientific American had this whole article on it, and I was like, holy majoli, I don't know how engines work, so I'm not going to go into it. But in summation, it was an idea for a new way to burn diesel fuel to create less NOx.
Okay.
It was supposed to be able to be retrofitted on existing engines. So that was sort of the big perk of it, is like you don't need
everybody doesn't have to buy a new car, right?
Yeah, you don't have to completely replace the engine. You can retrofit this device, and it's going to lower the amount of NOx created. It was funded in part by the United States Department of Energy. $2.4 million is what they spent on that. So,
$2.4 million.
Yeah, but if you hear what happened, you might be okay.
I was like, that's nothing.
So I hope I'm wrong on this, but this was all I could find. So it was basically when this technology first was patented, there were all these articles about like, whoa, so cool, awesome. And then it kind of went quiet for a little while, and I found some results that from a There were performance results from SAE International
Okay.
on a test, and they were not good.
Oh.
So they found, I don't know why I'm laughing, it's like sad, but they found that it actually, using this device, increased particulate matter emissions. It increased unburned hydrocarbons.
Okay.
It increased carbon monoxide. And in a lot of cases, it increased fuel usage.
So 100% the opposite of everything they set out to accomplish. Interesting.
I don't know about 100%, but I think so.
Lot. Okay.
I think so. I don't think there was anything that decreased, or maybe something stayed the same.
It took out the NOx or something?
Oh, actually, I didn't even
increased everything else. It's like, yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't remember. I could look, but yeah.
That's pretty impressively bad.
It is. And the funniest / saddest line was from this performance results said, quote, results suggest that a combustion system may need to be designed for DFI, the ducted thing.
Yeah.
Retrofitting without base engine hardware modifications may not work.
Okay. Well, darn it. Back to the drawing board, kids.
But it's just so crazy to me that, like, everybody's, yay, this is awesome. But then when results actually come in and it doesn't work, it's like nobody's talking. It's just crickets.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Yep. It does. And more power to them for trying to figure something out. And it is a bummer that the research didn't go as planned. But I don't know. It's very annoying to me that the Department of Energy is like, I think this was from 2019, these performance results, and yet they haven't updated their website.
Well, also, somebody was trying to disband the Department of Energy, so they might have had other problems.
Well, yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Still, as somebody who updates websites, I am personally offended, but it's fine.
I get it. The EPA website gives me hives right now. Everything is just, it's clear that nobody has been working in these positions to.
Yeah, and I'm like, it's been a while, Biden. What?
Yeah.
What? It's not easy. I know. It ain't easy.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah. So so that was sort of my research.
Got it.
And so now we can kind of wrap up. Is this something a normal? No, I'm not going to ask that.
Okay. Yeah, like any normal.
Because it doesn't
person
really
would buy a
make
diesel
sense.
car. Right. Like, do you need a Yukon to drive your soccer kids? I don't know. Yeah. Like,
right.
It's not like you're not choosing diesel to be. Well, okay. Yeah. Never mind. But it's not.
Yeah, it's not like a sustainable choice, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, I guess not.
I mean, it's not an everyday sustainable choice, right?
Yeah.
In the United States, you're not going to choose the diesel. We don't have diesel vehicles that aren't heavy duty like Europe does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's not something that a normal person would have the choice at all.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there are like Yukons that are diesel, and maybe there's a version that's gasoline, but I'm not sure about that. But I guess it's like if you have the choice, probably go with the gasoline one.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, but overall, does the Earth-friendly message need to come back to Earth? God, yes. Because clean diesel cannot exist just because you ignore the NOx, the particulates, and the carbon dioxide that is created. So, there have been a lot of advances in certain ways to make diesel less harmful, like with sulfur. But it's funny to me that even the EPA's National Clean Diesel Campaign has a large focus on switching to electric.
Yeah.
So I feel like I debunked that, but maybe there's probably a lot that I missed too, because it's very complicated.
Yeah, that's the thing. The more we look at like internal combustion engines,
right,
the less I know. I mean, obviously, the less I know. I'm not an engineer, and I'm not a car person, and I'm just like, I push the button and the car goes,
Yeah. And even Joey,
but
like even Joey, he'll watch these shows, Motor Trend. There's a couple shows on Motor Trend. Roadkill's one of them. Anyway, if any car people are listening, They're good show. They're actually like really entertaining. But I'll ask him like, do you understand what they're saying? And he knows this stuff. And he's like, yeah, like 70%.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I understand about 5. I understand wheels and steering wheel. And like, like engine, maybe.
It's amazing to me that this is such a big part of our lives. I mean, I guess it's the same. I don't understand how my computer works.
Right.
I don't understand.
And he does. That's the funny thing.
Yeah. I don't understand how my fridge works. It just works.
Right. Yep. I barely understand how flowers work, and I'm like really trying.
I don't get it.
I don't get it. What's a root? So I did go ahead and give it a granola ratings for clean diesel. Okay. And a granola rating, every episode, most episodes, we like to look at, just sort of sum it up for you. Granola rating on like a scale of 1 to 5. The soggier your granola, probably the more green hooey there is. The more fluff, the more it's probably not worth your time. But if this granola is breaking your tooth off or super crunchy, then great. That's awesome. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what you want. So how crunchy are the Department of Energy's claims? Well, they're not. I gave it a 2 out of 5, which is mushy.
Yeah.
They had like 1, right?
Yeah.
And again, I literally could be wrong on all of that. Like, I hope I'm wrong. I don't know. But I'm not wrong on all of this, okay? But there are other things that I could have missed, whatever, because there's so much. So if I missed anything big, let me know. Because Jiminy Christmas.
Like,
but clean diesel's like not clean.
Diesel's not.
It's
not
clean
the
coal.
Thing that my friend, that my friend told me it was, and like Europeans aren't doing so much better than us because they have diesel vehicles and we don't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think so. Yes, they are more efficient, so he was right about that.
Yeah, fair.
And it is a little bit different, right? Because in the U.S., our diesel vehicles are gigantic. In Europe, that's not the case.
Yeah.
So I didn't look at that size of car. I didn't look at that type of those emissions, whatever. Like, I mean, I still think the diesel emissions are worse, like no matter what, because, yeah, I mean, the ICCT told me that, so I believe them.
Yeah.
I trust them.
Okay.
So yeah, so
EV still the way to go.
Yeah, 100%. It ain't clean diesel, and it ain't gasoline. Let's be honest here. So, yeah.
Well,
yep.
I feel enlightened. I feel like a mystery that I had planted in my brain somewhere has been readjusted. So.
Oh, there you go. Well, you can throw some facts back at whoever.
I don't think I talk to that person anymore.
Okay, cool.
So.
Cool. So they're probably not listening, so they can't negate me or fight me. Okay.
They're going to call and be like, well, actually.
Awesome. All right, so next week up is Kat talking about bicycles, which is really exciting.
Yeah, and I'm wondering what direction we're going to take it. But, because I think I'll just talk about how, I don't know, we can go to a lot of ways. We'll see how my reading.
Yeah, there's a lot we could do. Leave us I started this too soon. Leave us a review if you haven't already. 5 stars if you want, and that would be awesome. Cool. Okay, bye!
Yeah, have a good one. Talk to you later.
Bye.